In today's video, we're taking a look at the latest trade talk around the NHL. There's speculation tonight that the Edmonton Oilers have interest in all three of the Montreal Canadiens goaltenders. We'll discuss the possibilities and how that may go down. We also have the latest trade talk around the Calgary Flames as well. Big news out of Boston. Milan Lucic has been arrested and has taken an indefinite leave of absence from the team. There's a major situation going on there. We have news from the waiver wire as well. Lots of other injury notes and the latest update on Patrick Kane as well. All that coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have a lot to cover here today. It's been a very busy news cycle. I myself have been pretty busy as well, dealing with youth sports here with my child. So certainly been a very busy tournament weekend. So a little bit of a late news update, but lots to cover here and go down. We have news from the waiver wire. The Red Wings, who are of course over in Sweden, but have completed their 2 games after playing Ottawa and Toronto in back-to-back games, have placed Austin Czarnik on waivers for the purpose of being assigned to the minors. So we'll see and find out tomorrow if he's cleared or not. We haven't had any other recent waiver pickups. We've had a few other players go through waivers in recent days, but nobody has been picked up. Everybody has cleared. Former NHL player Brett Ritchie, who was unable to secure a contract this season in the NHL, has also now signed over in Russia in the KHL. So he's definitely going to not be making an NHL return this season. We'll see about the future. One of the bigger news stories, though, of the day, certainly a very concerning story, to say the least, is Boston Bruins forward Milan Lucic has been arrested. He was arrested last night due to an involvement in a domestic incident. So it looks like it's a family-related type thing that happened at home, from what I can gather, and based on information from the Bruins and some information that's come out through different media sources regarding the police reports and everything. The Bruins have said that Lucic is taking an indefinite leave of absence from the team. They also made mention that they want to offer support to the family, and that's really all they're going to say due to privacy on the matter. Based on what I could see, police reports indicate that his wife had called 911, saying that he had attacked and choked her, and when police arrived on the scene, he appeared to be quite intoxicated. So, sounds to me like, of course, there's details that we don't know. I'm not going to make be judgmental here and make too many comments about what went down, because there's just a lot we don't know. But based on the sounds of things, I would say that I do hope that based on what the team said, it sounds like they're going to offer any support to his wife and kids. They do have some young children as well, so that could be certainly a scary situation. And if Milan Lucic needs help, and to be honest, it sounds like he does, there is an NHL player assistance program that's there for him, and I hope he seeks the assistance and help he needs. And I do hope that their family can deal with this and move forward, but I guess we'll wait and see. I don't know. I know it's tough. Just a very unfortunate set of circumstances. My thoughts are certainly on his spouse and children, and I hope that based on what this sounds like, that he needs help and that he can get that help and kind of clean things up, because that's certainly not what you want to be like, for sure. I do know a lot of other pro sports leagues don't have much tolerance for domestic violence. I don't know if there's any chance this puts his Bruins contract in jeopardy or not. I don't know in that regard how things are going to work out based on the fact of him taking a leave of absence. I would say he's probably not looking at that happening, but like I said, the player assistance program is certainly an option as well. But very unfortunate set of circumstances that went down last night and made the news today. Another situation in San Jose, completely different because we don't really know much more, but Nico Sturm is also taking a leave of absence from the Sharks. All we know in that situation, and it is family related, but we don't know to what extent or what's going on. We don't really need to know either. He's taking a leave from the Sharks and will be out for a period of time that we don't know when he'll return. Some injury updates. The Panthers got back, of course, Montour and Ekblad, but then lost captain Barkov in an injury in a knee-on-knee collision against the Anaheim Ducks. I think it was Jackson Lacombe, I believe, was the other player. No, final determination of the exact timelines that Barkov's looking at, but it looked bad, and it certainly looked like it could have been a significant knee injury. Maybe they'll be fortunate; it won't be as bad as it looked, but The captain could be looking at an extensive recovery, and we'll have to wait for an update here in the coming days to see what is going down with that. I suspect Chandler Stephenson will be getting a call from NHL Player Safety by tomorrow. He had a situation today where the Vegas Golden Knights were playing the Philadelphia Flyers, and both former Washington Capitals, I believe they would have been teammates at one point, if I'm not mistaken. Teammates, no more though. Stephenson cross-checked to the face of Garnet Hathaway. He was ejected from the game. A fine at the very least, if not a potential suspension, may be coming forthright. So stay tuned for Player Safety's involvement in that situation. Of course, the Toronto Maple Leafs have one more game left in the Global Series. We saw Ottawa and Minnesota go today. It was around 1 o'clock Eastern time today. We saw a nice goalie battle between Anton Forsberg and Philip Gustafsson. The Sens ultimately pulled off a 2-1 win in a shootout. So the Sens take 4 out of 4 potential points in Sweden, move past the 500 mark for an 8-7 record, which is great. They moved up a little bit in the standings. Of course, they have games in the hands in all of their division rivals right now because they've been over in Sweden, and a lot of other teams have played at least 2 or 3 more games. So with that win today, Anton Forsberg actually becomes the first Swedish goalie to go over as part of the Global Series to play a game in Sweden and win. So that's great. And he also faced a penalty shot. We had a penalty shot again today in the Swedish Global Series games for covering the puck in the crease. Not something you see that much in the NHL, but it's happened twice on this Global Series adventure. And then at the same time, Anton Forsberg also picked up an assist on a goal from Erik Brandstrom in the third period to get the game tied at 1. So quite an eventful day for the Swedish Ottawa Senators players, with Forsberg putting in a great performance, Brandstrom scoring the game-tying goal, and then Josh Norris got the shootout victory. And of course, Philip Gustafsson, also Swedish, former Senator, which the Sens tend not to do well against former goaltenders, so they were actually able to get the win over him today. So it was a battle of Swedish goalies, and the Sens come out on top. And then tomorrow we have Minnesota playing Toronto, and because of the time difference, that's pretty early tomorrow morning. When the Leafs return, though, they'd certainly have some other business to take care of, including John Klingberg. He's not going to be able to participate in either of the games in Sweden. He was only on the ice for practice for about 10 minutes today. Sheldon Keefe was asked and said he was concerned that it is going to become a long-term kind of nagging injury type of issue. So we heard before with Elliotte Friedman making mention of Robidas Island. We've heard about, it's turning out to be a bad contract, make it go away type of thing. And this injury just seems to be, I don't know, to me it just seems a little weird, a little odd. So right now it's looking like Klingberg is projected to possibly end up in LTIR after they get home. So we'll see on that. The Leafs are also expected to talk to Patrick Kane. I know there was reports earlier that they had already spoken, and that was refuted. Elliotte Friedman said tonight on Saturday Headlines that he believes that a conversation either did take place or is going to, but he does not believe that the Maple Leafs will be able to pull off signing Kane. Ultimately, there is some interest, but their bigger interest is improving their blue line and their back end, which is going to take priority, and because of that, they're likely not going to be able to be successful in bringing Kane on board. Of course, we know that they're heavily interested in the Calgary Flames defensemen Nikita Zadorov and Chris Tanev, and we've talked multiple occasions about potential huge trade that could be going down between those two clubs sometime after they return from Sweden. But as we talked about, a couple of things with the Flames, Michael Backlund, according to Elliotte Friedman, has talked to, he said, not sure if it's in a group setting or one-on-one, but a lot of these pending UFAs are getting a lot of attention, especially in the case of Zadorov, who made a trade request. He said Backlund has kind of talked to them, saying that they need to quiet the noise and get rid of all these distractions around the team because it's not helping. He said, if you don't want to be here, talk to the general manager. They'll try to work on getting a trade for you, but until then, you need to play and focus on winning and focus on playing well. At the end of the day, you're a pro hockey player. You get paid to try to win games and put up points, and that's what you're here to do. So do your job, essentially, and stop being a distraction. It's kind of what he's saying in a nicer, polite way, which is certainly, good on the captain to take it upon himself to do that. So obviously the Calgary Flames, we know, are kind of embattled here in a tough season, and it is expected that we're going to see them embark on a major retool. I don't know if we can call it a rebuild, but definitely a retool for sure. And while many of those defensemen could be connected to the Leafs, we'll see if the deal goes down after the Swedish Global Series wraps up here or sometime in the near future. Another update on the World Cup of Hockey. Elliotte Friedman talked tonight on Saturday Headlines that for the 2025 World Cup of Hockey, progress is being made to making it happen. He doesn't expect Russia to be able to be involved in any capacity, so it's either going to be 4 or 6 teams. I mean, 4 teams that you can pretty well bank on for sure, but Canada, U.S., Sweden, and Finland. As far as the other 2 teams' potential, if it goes 6, obviously looking at either Czechia, Slovakia, Germany, Switzerland, but it really boils down to if it ends up being only NHL players participating, because right now we don't know for sure if European leagues are going to shut down or send their players or what they're going to do to handle this. And if they don't have their players participate, it's going to be tough for some countries to have a full roster. I mean, there are some countries like Germany that have some very exciting players like Draisaitl and Stützle and Mo Seider, but they don't have enough NHL players to form a full roster. And if they can't get players from other leagues, then they wouldn't really be able to compete. So we don't know the exact format and how that's going to go, but he said expect 4 or 6 teams, looking good for progress, and it's likely going to hopefully happen, and they can get back onto an international calendar schedule where we have that, then followed by the Olympics, and then every couple of years we'll go back and forth and have World Cups and Olympics to have more best-on-best international play. The other big news tonight on the Saturday Headlines segment with Elliotte Friedman is, of course, it's not really earth-shattering news to find out the Edmonton Oilers are scouring the goalie market looking for a goalie trade. But one thing he said tonight that I found quite surprising was that there was a lot of scouts of the Oilers watching recent Montreal Canadiens games, and that there's reportedly interest in all 3 of their goalies. There's been a lot of chatter about Jake Allen maybe being a target, but apparently they have interest in all of them. So we're looking at Samuel Montembeault, who's also in the process of talking to the Habs about contract extensions, and young Caden Primo, who is no longer waivers exempt and being held on the roster, is playing sparingly. I mean, it's hard to imagine Primo. I mean, I could see the Oilers maybe having some interest, but to go into Edmonton to be a full-time NHLer when he really hasn't even done it in Montreal, I don't know. I understand the interest, but I don't think that really makes a lot of sense. Montembeault would be more reasonable. At the same time, I know Montreal is interested in re-signing him, and we've heard about rumors about contract extension talk. So just because they're talking, it doesn't mean it's going to come together and going to happen. Depending on where things are at, maybe Edmonton sees him as being valuable enough that they make an offer. Montreal changes their mind. It's difficult to say. I still think that of all 3 of them, from a Montreal team perspective, it makes more sense to consider moving Jake Allen. I mean, obviously, the veteran guy has been good for the Habs. And I know he probably doesn't want to move. He doesn't have a modified no trade. I said before, I know the family a bit, being from the same town as him. I know that the situation in Montreal works incredibly well for him. I don't think he wants to move, but it's not entirely his call because he can't protect himself from being traded to all 31 NHL teams besides Montreal. So, I'm sure he wouldn't mind making a run for another Stanley Cup at the same time too, right? Hard to say, but when you look at the Oilers having interest in all 3 Habs goalies, I mean, Montembeault does make sense. If the Oilers could get him, but I don't know if Montreal really wants to do that. They're going to have to probably pony up more to get Montembeault than they would Allen, for sure, being younger and having, probably a little bit more upside on a long-term basis. Short-term, I think Jake could be a good solution for them too, to come in and kind of stabilize things a little bit. But with Jake, being a good experienced goaltender, he's also proven that he tends to play better on a lighter workload. And I don't know if they want to be, he would be the guy they'd turn to go for, night in, night out, trying to play a heavy workload with the Oilers. Montembeault might be more up for that, but are they going to want to pay the price to bring him in? And because Montreal, I think, is going to charge a premium for a guy that they really like. So difficult to say, but all this time we've been talking about the Oilers and Allen, and now Elliotte Friedman saying that the Oilers actually have interest in all 3 Habs goalies. So that I found quite interesting. And I'd love to know what your thoughts are on which one you think they are targeting the most. How do you think they feel about all 3? Which one makes the most sense? And what kind of trade would you make? Give me some mock trades down in the comments so we can get everybody's ideas together and talk about it further. If you're new to the channel, of course, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with the latest news, rumors, and analysis of all 32 NHL teams. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.